game series tonight at what's the ballpark called there in San Francisco?
Oracle
Ballpark up in San Francisco. Padres looking to win that series. Oracle Park, whatever. They are hanging on by a thread, John. Hanging on by a thread. If they lose tonight, they'll be officially eliminated. NBA news of the day: big time trades happening. 3-team deal with a big name of the trade. Damian Lillard goes from the Trailblazers to the Bucks. And tonight, the Brady Hoke Coaches Show, 6 p.m. with John Rich and Coach Hoke. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour one of Jon and Jim. We are with you until 6 o'clock today. Everything is wonderful in Padres land. Okay, wonderful.
Haven't seen that before.
Soto.
Okay, wonderful, John.
2 home runs last night for Juan Soto.
That was exciting.
It was exciting for Xander. Man, oh man.
Oh, Manny. I am so excited.
Me and you. Why you? Anyway, Padres win yesterday. They remain alive, as Jim just said. We won't get into the math yet. I will say this. Turn your computer off.
Sorry.
That the Marlins are playing 2 games today. If the Marlins won twice today, they would eliminate the Padres, but it doesn't look like the Marlins will win twice today. They're losing to the Mets in game 1 late. Now, if the Cubs win tonight, Padres are eliminated. If the Padres lose tonight, Padres also eliminated. But in all seriousness with Juan Soto, because we should start there, we talked about this a little bit last night on the wrap-up show. Here is a guy that's in the midst of like a top 10 season in the history of the franchise. I get it, not as impactful as some of the other years. His team's still under 500, but 35 home runs, career high, 108 RBIs, OPS approaching 950. He's heading into a walk year in 2024. There's all these questions about payroll for the Padres moving forward. And really the question today, 844-570-1360, 70470, started with team. Can you afford, no pun intended, to move on from Juan Soto heading into next season? I don't see how you could afford not to have a guy back off a year that he's just had. And this isn't even a career year for Soto. And it's still one of the best seasons in franchise history.
Technically, it can be viewed as a career year.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the bottom line numbers,
homers,
back of the baseball card, this team love to talk about back of the baseball card this year. He has a new career high in home runs. He potentially could have a career high in RBIs.
Doubles, right?
Career high in doubles. His average is, 270-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 275 right now. But his OPS is well into the 900s.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could end the year with a 950 OPS.
Yep.
Going to lead the league in walks. On base percentage, well over 400. Like the numbers of Juan Soto this year, who's had a wonderful season, they're good to look at, but I could definitely argue that his numbers didn't impact the team as much as how good they look on paper.
I agree with that.
I think his numbers on paper, while they look really good, I don't know necessarily if they fully impacted this season like a guy with those numbers have. If you understand what I'm saying.
I do, but okay, and I completely agree. I think you're spot on. I think a lot of his work has been done in September, and the team's been out of it in September.
Yeah.
But despite all of that, that's not a reason for me, and I think you agree with me because we've talked about it before. I'm not moving on from Juan Soto just because this team is 78 and 80 and out of it.
I agree, yeah.
Because it's like, if you could replicate this, and there's reasons to believe he can, just look at his career. He's had seasons like this. He's only 24. If you replicate this, then you got to think like you're hopefully in a better spot next year. If Juan Soto at age 25 has his 950 OPS season, like, are they really going to have back-to-back bad years with Juan Soto hitting 35 home runs and driving in 110 plus
No.
and having a 450 on base percentage?
I don't know, John. I can't say no because look what happened this year.
But like, what gives you a better chance to win in 2024? We've been saying this a lot. Can you really have a better season in the absence of Juan Soto? Maybe long term you can build back up and you can stock your farm system and get multiple pieces for Juan Soto, but I'm not really worried about long term or Juan term. I'm just not.
One term.
I can't worry about 2025. Just like we said this year, when this year started, I wasn't worried about 2024. Now I'm worried about 2024, but I can't worry about 2025, Jim. With a $200 million payroll and Tatis and Machado and Musgrove and Bogart and Soto, I got to see this team win in 2024. And that's why, for me, you can't afford to move on from Juan Soto, even if you don't have him in 2025.
Yeah. Scott Miller yesterday was very blunt.
Yeah,
thinking that they need to trade Juan Soto. Kind of overrated. Not the type of guy that, is who Padres fans or maybe the media or whoever, thought that he was going to be. I do think last year was just a bad year for him overall. He had definitely moments in the postseason, but this year is more of the Juan Soto that you'll see. He had a really bad start to his year, and he had a horrible August. Upcoming winter, and that to me is the biggest question. It's not if you can re-sign him. I'm thinking all I'm thinking about is next year. Can they afford to keep him just for next year? Because of the money that he's going to demand in arbitration, which will be a lot. And you're already dealing with kind of a little bit of a payroll crisis here. So can they afford to keep him just for next season with a 35, maybe I don't know, right? Say 35. 35 is the highest I'll go. $35 million a year player that will bump your payroll to probably around 200 for 12 dudes. Can they afford to do that when they're already talking about this payroll and it's being reported on going down?
Yeah, but didn't they? Okay, when you trade for Juan Soto, which was like 1 year and 1 month ago, or 1 year and 2 months ago, don't you have a whiteboard in AJ Preller's office or Peter Seidler's like, okay, if you make this trade, this is what it's going to cost us. Like, there's no way they made that trade and they're like, hey, we might have to move on from him in 2024. Now, maybe things have changed. They signed Xander Bogaerts for whatever reason.
Things always can change.
They've added payroll. Here's the thing. He got a $6 million bump this year, Soto, from 17 to 23. If he gets another $6 million bump, we'll get to $29 million, which, to your point, is a fortune. We'll push the Padres payroll near $200 million, 12, 13 players. We've already been told from Kevin Acee, Dennis Lynn, and others, the payroll's coming down. It's a two-sided coin. It's like, yeah, maybe they can't afford it, like literally with dollars and cents, but how can you afford to part ways with a 25-year-old future Hall of Famer? Like, how can you afford to do that? And how do you expect to fill the ballpark at the same rate and win at a high level if you don't have Juan Soto heading into 2024? I don't know what the messaging is going to be. We talked about this yesterday. Is that, hey, we got a lot back for him, and we're going to be better off long term in the absence. I don't know how you sell it. I think you have no choice essentially, but to put all the eggs in the basket of 2024. I mean, all of them, and go try to win at the highest level you've won at under Peter Seidler / AJ Preller.
And you're going to be dealing with way more pressure as a team next year than you did this year. Because, like, how are you going to perform after the biggest disappointment in franchise history? How is this team going to react? How is this team going to look? So If anybody thinks that they're just going to go into next year with, the pressure off and they can play free and easy and not have, if they go on a 5-game losing streak, like people aren't going to be upset or freak out about that. Like, nah. You are mistaken. The pressure is now ratcheted up even more than it was this year. I feel like because this year there was a lot of pressure and they crumbled and they admitted that the pressure potentially got to them. Coming off of this year, you go into next season, like you got to win. And so if you have to win, I do believe, and I agree with you, like Juan Soto has to be here if you expect to win at a high rate and to also sell to the fan base that you can win at that high rate and at a high clip that you are kind of putting on yourself. Like the Padres are putting these expectations on themselves. Forget what Manny says about the media and whatever. Like he's wrong. The Padres have put these expectations on themselves to win at a high level. If you don't have Juan Soto for that, for next year, yeah, good luck trying to sell that. And also, I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but also a little bit of good luck getting to that level that you have put on yourselves without Juan Soto.
I'm not saying that the Padres are cursed because they've never won a World Series in the entirety of the franchise.
Say they're cursed. They're cursed.
But if you move Juan Soto after his age 24 season and he's a future Hall of Famer and he hasn't even reached his prime, and Soto goes on to do big things and win more World Series and you don't, then you're cursed. And I'm not saying this is trading Babe Ruth for cash if you move Juan Soto, but you're moving Juan Soto because of cash if you move Juan Soto. So I'm not doing it. I'd rather take the wrath and the ridicule of not winning in 2024 with Soto than the potential upside or whatever the other side is of trading off Juan Soto and maybe getting lucky in 2024. I just can't fathom moving him before his walk year as a 25-year-old and thinking that's a good idea.
So then what would you say about what the Nationals did?
What the Nationals did was win a World Series with Juan Soto, offer him the richest deal in baseball history, and get a king's ransom with 3 years remaining on his deal. The Padres would have done none of that. No World Series, no offer, no king's ransom in return, potentially, with 1 year left on the deal. And maybe there's the one scenario I'd move him. It's next July, and you're not good.
Right.
Then I move him.
No, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Because I was just thinking, like, you can make the same argument if you're the Nationals. Don't trade a guy that was 23 years old at the time, who was like this generational talent. But if the World Series, they've already got one, and you can get 4 top prospects from an organization, they're 1, 2, 3, and 4 prospects. And
they offered him a contract. He said no to 2 times.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get it from the Nationals' perspective. They got the ultimate prize, which is the World Series. The Padres won the World Series last year. Then I think it'd be more easy. It'd be easier to accept if they would have to trade Juan Soto in the offseason because just they need to build a roster, dude. And if they need to build a roster with the X amount of money and you're giving Juan Soto this massive spike, he's a great player, but you need to build a roster. So I understand, like, from the Padres' perspective, if those talks and when those talks will happen, because I don't doubt that they will. I think they absolutely will happen. And they've put themselves in this position. Like, when they traded for Juan Soto, nobody thought that they were going to go out and give a $280 million contract to Xander Bogaerts. And nobody thought that they were going to also give Manny Machado a $350 million contract, or at least a extra $150 million added on to his whatever deal that he had. So now it's like, okay, you made your bed. Oh, and you also gave $100 million plus to Yu Darvish, and you gave $80 million to Jake Cronenworth, even though the AAV with him doesn't really matter. It's very low. But you get my point. They have made their
deals, $100 million.
They have made their bed. They have chosen who they're going to ride with. Now the question comes is, are they going to go the extra mile to keep Juan Soto here long term, and then completely go back on everything that's being reported right now, and they're going to keep a high payroll, and they're going to continue to lose a bunch of money, and they're going to continue to be in debt, and they're going to continue to potentially not win? Like, is that a recipe that the Padres are willing to go down? All of that pretty much if you keep Juan Soto.
Well, it's a good point. It's like, well, if you can't keep him for a year at $30 million, then why are we even talking about the idea that they could extend him out long term? Because, by the way, not only is the money going to be a lot more than 30, I mean, you're talking $300, $400, $500 million. It's also more than 30 per year. If they can't afford 30 for 1 year with Juan Soto, they could afford 40 for 10. So, like, are they even going to offer him?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think they would. Peter Seidler was very outspoken as recently as a year ago, saying we're not afraid of $500 million contracts. But, now a year has passed, and we're talking about the franchise's like liquidity, essentially their ability to spend and maintain when it comes to payroll. I mean,
I think they're afraid now of handing out another $500 million contract.
Right. I mean, can you?
Or just one.
Exactly. I don't even know how you could do it. So that's why, here's what I do know. That even if they can't afford the $400 or $500 million, which makes sense, what franchise can, they can afford the 30 that he's owed next year. That's a $6 million raise. Money's coming off the books. The payroll is going to look different. They're going to have to navigate the roster a little differently. But there's no way it's solely a dollar and cents move. Like, hey, we're trading Juan Soto because he's owed $29 million and we don't have it. Like that to me would really surprise me. I think they have the money. It's just, do they see it as the best way to use the money in 2024?
Do they have the money?
I mean, they're spending $250 on this year's payroll. They don't have $29 million next year for Juan Soto. They have $350, like your point, $350, $280, $340 with Tatis.
I know.
So I don't see how they don't have the money.
I think that the money and the payroll, for everybody that thinks it's not going to be an issue, I think it's going to be an issue. The more you hear from like Dennis and Kevin, I do think that it's going to be some type of issue heading into the future with this team. You can't live off of 8 to 10 guys making 80% of your potential payroll for whatever number that you have set. And, things can change. They changed last year. I don't think there was any thought going into the offseason that we were going to go and sign Xander Bogaerts to a $280 million contract, but the opportunity presented itself. They took a shot, they gambled, and they came up empty, essentially, this year. So things could change, but I do think where this franchise is leaning heavily, from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound good. Like when you start hearing from Dennis that they're selling, that Peter's trying to sell off parts like of the franchise and like you said, liquid, or what was the word?
Liquidity.
Liquidity.
Do they have them? But okay, to your
then that is an issue, dude.
Is, but let me ask you this. Then why is it? I'm 100% with you. It's like, but we're talking, not us, but people are talking out of both sides of their mouths, because as we say this, people are like, well, Padres are going to be in on Ohtani. I guarantee you this. If there's one thing I know.
Give me a break.
But how many times have you heard that?
A million.
Rosenthal,
I know.
Bob Nightingale.
Well, things change. Things change.
And they may have. Yeah. You may 100% be right. And that might be more of an indicator on AJ Preller. Is Preller even the GM this offseason?
We're going to find.
He is. But nobody is willing to say that if AJ Preller is the GM, they're not going to take a run at Shohei Ohtani. But if they don't have money for Juan Soto in arbitration, surely they don't have money for Shohei Ohtani as a free agent. You can't buy every position, and at some point, it's all going to catch up to you. I didn't think it would catch up this quickly.
I didn't either.
But it appears like it caught up pretty quickly.
And to have the majority of your team be healthy, and I know then Darvish got hurt and Musgrove got hurt.
Yeah, but they were already under 500.
They're 10 games under. It was like, yeah, you're done. And then Joe, he got hurt at the trade deadline, and that was it. But for the season to be the way it turned out to be, with your big four playing all year long. I know Manny's injured, but he's still out there. Okay. And then Juan Soto having the year he had, numbers wise. Blake Snell's the Cy Young. Sharman soft hater, great numbers, but it's just a Lugo. By the way, Lugo, if you talking about, hey, who do you want on this team to like make sure the culture doesn't deteriorate? It's Seth Lugo. Like that's the type of player I would want on the Padres. But anyway, I digress. You got all these years by these players, and you're like, this team still sucks. How is this possible?
Well, how about this point? Because you just mentioned the fact that, hey, you had the big four healthy. Well, remember heading into the season, the big question was, well, can you tread water for 20 games without Tatis and then get going? Are we going to say the same thing next year because of Manny Machado? Hey, can you tread water because Machado
Well,
is not going to be in the field until June 15th, and he might not be in the batter's box until April 15th. We have no idea.
they have Juan Soto and they have Xander Bogaerts and they have Fernando Tatis Jr. and a healthy Hassan Kim and a healthy Jake Cronenworth. Then yeah, they can tread water.
But I mean, isn't it like
They could do
deja vu?
well.
But isn't it deja vu all over again? This year, it's hey, you're going to be without Tatis for 20 games. Or get through those 20 games. Like, are we going to be in the same situation next year? Hey, Manny's not going to be healthy until May 15th. Can you get through the first 6 weeks of the season without Manny?
That's also, the reason why if you expect them to win next year, you Juan Soto on this team. That's a big component because if you don't have Juan Soto on this team,
And you can't be wonderful.
you cannot be wonderful. You just can't. There's no way you can ever be wonderful without a Juan Soto on your team. But like you said, can you tread water? Imagine treading water with no Juan Soto or Manny Machado. You got Xander Bogaerts, who has nice numbers, but okay. Fernando Tatis Jr., I want to see him make that jump back to his 2021, 2020 self of, being a 40 home run guy. Can he do that? They don't have Juan Soto, and you're missing Manny Machado for the start of your season next year, for say like the first month. Oh boy. And you're also dealing with no Blake Snell and probably a bunch of new pitchers on this team. Oh, and a new manager potentially. A lot of questions, man. A lot of questions.
All right, which begs the question of, is wonderful the best Padres pun out there? Do you have one better? 70470. You can start your message with team. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do on the other side. We're going to give away Coldplay tickets for Thursday night. We have a pair of free tickets for Coldplay to give away for tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. More of your reaction to whether the Padres can afford or not to lose Juan Soto. Plus, John Fanta will join us at 5:30. Mark Ziegler will join us today at 4 p.m. We'll take your calls on this as well. 844-570-1360. We're giving away Coldplay tickets next. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim. We'll take him if he waits. We'll take him if he waits that call.
Thanks for the super, SJL Stevens.
What's up, man?
What up, man? Thanks for joining us on Jon and Jim. I know you're on the wrap-up show all the time.
All supers will be answered at breaks for anyone that wants to support the show. Thank you, SJL Stevens.
Appreciate it. I said thanks for all you do, guys. I've really enjoyed watching this season. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. We are here 24/7. Literally. We are never leaving. We are always talking Padres baseball. 365, 24/7.
By the way, Jim, to that point from SJL Stevens, don't make plans for Monday or Tuesday when it comes to like wrap-up show.
Me?
Jon and because like who knows? We might get a Melvin story, we might get a Preller story.
Oh yeah.
Like Monday, Tuesday to me are like block out time in the calendar to discuss what the Padres are doing with their future.
I agree.
Or to discuss the postseason and who they're playing in that opening round. Well, they'll be in Milwaukee.
Stop it.
If they get the breaks, they'll be in Milwaukee.
All right. Thanks for the Superman. Make sure to like, subscribe to the video, and we'll be back after the break.
Coldplay tomorrow night, Snapdragon Stadium. We have 2 free tickets. Mark Ziegler will join us at 4 p.m. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, Giants, final game of their 3-game series tonight up in San Francisco, 6:45 first pitch there. If the Padres lose, they are officially eliminated in the playoff race. NBA news of the day, 3-team trade between the Blazers, the Bucks, and the Suns. The big name in the trade, Damian Lillard, has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. I know Brent is pretty happy about that one. And tonight, the Brady Hoke Coaches Show, 6 p.m. with Coach Hoke, John, and Rich right here on San Diego Sports 760. As the Leafs change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform makes you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, Josh Hader on Instagram with an interesting comment.
Oh,
Jim has not
give it
seen.
to me.
All right, Josh Hader within the last, I think recently.
Even though I said I wasn't going to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, well, you're going to.
Oh, boy.
I don't even know what he's replying to, but there was a tweet maybe like from his agency, Tread Athletics.
Let me see.
I got it. That said, at Josh Hader is only allowed 1 run in the month of September. Anyway, in the replies, he replied to someone named Ryan Flores, and then it's a laughing emoji, and he says, y'all love a narrative. Phone to the bullpen never rung in that situation. I assume he's talking about last night. Didn't know I had to make the call to the dugout to put myself in. And then he goes on to say, gotta love the media. Josh Hader on Instagram this afternoon.
Where did you see this on Twitter?
On Twitter.
No, where is it? Send that to me. I need to see it for myself.
You don't believe me?
I 100% believe you.
Okay, hold on. I'll send it to you.
I said I wasn't going to talk about this guy anymore.
So it was, let me just show you. Here, look at this real quick. Tread Athletics, remote athlete Josh Hader is only allowed 1 run in the month of September. Someone then wrote, can't go 4 outs though. Ryan Flores too, but can't go 4 outs. He said, y'all love a narrative. Phone to the bullpen never rung in that situation. Didn't know I had to make the call to the dugout to put myself in. Gotta love the media.
saying that's myself. Okay.
By the way, Coldplay tickets will give them away in 5 minutes.
Y'all have a narrative. You know why the phone didn't ring?
Oh, I thought you were about to curse. I'm like, dude, chill.
You know why the phone didn't ring, Josh?
Because they know you're not going to do it.
Because they know you're not going to do it.
Right, exactly. It's like, that's exactly right. I don't ask my kid to eat broccoli because he never eats broccoli.
Right.
Every single time I put it on his plate. So I don't even put it on his plate anymore.
Like, if Melvin trusted you for 4 outs, the phone would have rung. It didn't ring.
They trust you. It's just you obviously don't want to do it.
And there's no bro, if you didn't say what you said after the game, we're not talking about you. We're literally not talking about you because we all know, and I said it when I watched Josh Hader, which is when I watched the Padres game on Tuesday night, right? Was it Tuesday night?
No,
Monday night?
Monday night.
Okay, when I watched the game on Monday night, and it's the 8th inning, and the bases were loaded, and Michael Conforto's at the plate with Robert Suarez on the mound, I didn't think at all of Josh Hader in that moment. You know why? It's because I've been conditioned to not even never rely on Josh Hader for 4 outs. I just, as somebody that watches these games and covers the Padres, because of what has been said and reported on, I'm conditioned to never in the regular season think about, they should use Josh Hader for 4 outs here. Like,
Dude,
I just don't think about
the reason, right? They're not saying get up in the 8th because you've made it clear you don't get up in the 8th. So, like, there's 2 sides to that story. It's like Hader's like, well, they didn't call. Well, yeah, because you've made it clear you don't want them to call. 844-570-1360. We'll give away Coldplay tickets in a couple of minutes. Be listening, by the way. We'll need you to answer something before you call in for Coldplay tickets. We'll let you know when to call. Brent, what do you got?
Well, he's claiming that it's the media's narrative. This was right out of Bomel's mouth yesterday.
Discussion with him. Is there any thought?
We talked to him some, yeah.
They talked to him
some. But
so is Melvin lying? They didn't really talk to me about pitching for any media narratives, more lies.
Media's fault.
Let's go to Tyler, who's been patient. Tyler, you're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in. Hey, Tyler.
How are you doing today, guys?
How are you, man?
Doing pretty great. I'm a Padres fan living out here in Indiana the last several years.
Oh, cool.
I got to go back out to San Diego for the first time several months ago. I passed by your tent. Really wish I stopped by and said hi, but I've been avidly watching every wrap-up show. Unfortunately, not on the East Coast because of the 12:30 time, but make sure not to miss an episode every morning.
Thanks, man.
I just wanted to state my thoughts real quick. I am so 50-50 as far as the Juan Soto thing. From the payroll cutting to the fact that it's going to be $30 million assumedly for arbitration. I seriously think A.J. Preller, of course, needs to be fired for all the screw-ups that he has made. And more importantly, because if you're going to cut down on payroll, you're going to need homegrown guys to develop in order to fill those gaps. And as Scott Miller was saying last night, I think he nailed it perfect. Like, the team has had no development almost with any guys. They've either flamed out his bus or they've just been viewed as trade chips than anything else. So I make this proclamation, and if anything does happen with Preller, like assuming he does go, there needs to be a front office duo that is analytically inclined and is strong in player development. So I want to know what you guys think of Chaim Bloom as president of baseball operations and James Click as general manager. Both of them worked in the Rays for 15 years together, and I think that they bring exactly what this organization has lacked for quite a while.
Well, it's funny. Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler, man. Appreciate it.
Chaim Bloom has been criticized for the same thing that A.J. Preller has been criticized for, has he not? During his tenure in Boston, which was much shorter, right? 3.5 seasons, nearly 4 seasons. Yeah, I don't know. I do agree with the sentiment of where you got to be really good is analytically and in development. Mm-hmm. Like, I completely agree with that. I don't know the best avenue there. I don't know if it's going to be Chaim Bloom, because I was reading all the replies when Bloom got fired from Red Sox fans. And what they're saying is the exact same thing that every Padres fan is saying about A.J. Preller in San Diego. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's just par for the course for general managers that don't succeed. I don't know.
I do think the difference between Chaim Bloom and A.J. Preller is A.J. Preller was given essentially way more time and recently kind of an open checkbook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chaim Bloom, he had no choice
Yeah.
He had to trade Mookie Betts because the ownership group was not going to pay the money to keep Mookie there.
True. Of course, the trade is not seen as a good one from
Well,
the Red Sox perspective.
And that's on Heim's record. It's on his record. He can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think if you dig deeper, it's more of a who's their owner? Whoever their owner is.
Right.
It's more his fault than it is Heim Bloom's fault.
John Henry.
It's more on John Henry for the Mookie Betts trade than it is on Heim Bloom.
Well, then some people would say, like you said, maybe it's more on Peter Seidler, the Manny Machado extension, than it is on AJ Preller. But of course, AJ Preller's had other missteps.
Way bigger missteps. But here's the one thing that Tyler said, and thanks for the call, buddy, that I do agree with. Not like the people and Click and Bloom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
And at this point, you can't keep going with Preller. You have to do something new.
I do like two, by the way. Are you going to say that? You like the two set up, the GM and the president versions?
I love the baseball operations and then a general manager. It's hard enough to do one of those jobs. And to do both of them, I mean, it's crazy. How many teams in baseball have just one person doing president of baseball operations as well as being the GM?
I don't know.
It could be a lot. Could be. I don't know off the top of my head. But I know here it's not worked. So here, if you had a president of baseball operations and then a general manager underneath that person, that's what I would like to see. I don't have like these names that I think like, oh, you have to go get this guy and this guy.
Like it's got to be high.
Right. Like, and hey, if it would happen to be what Tyler said there, that scenario, I think I would be pretty okay with that.
Well, the Tampa tree. You like the Tampa tree.
I like the Tampa tree. And as of right now, I don't know if that would work out at all. But what I've been saying is what I do know is AJ Preller has not worked. And that's what I do know. I do know AJ Preller has not worked. I don't know if whoever would follow him would work. I just know what's happening here right now. It's not working, and so there needs to be a change.
Caller 5 that knows which current Padres player just took to Instagram to blame the media. Caller 5 to 844-570-1360 with that player's name. He's going to Coldplay tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 2 free tickets, 844-570-1360. Which Padres player is blaming the media on Instagram within the last hour? 844-570-1360. That's really unbelievable. That's a doubling down. I'll say his name now that the lines are loaded. That's a complete doubling down by Josh Hader from 2 nights ago to say, wait, we're in a playoff race, to then take to Instagram replies and be like, dude, the phone works both ways and they ain't calling me.
Y'all love a narrative? What narrative? The fact that you're not going to go out there for more than 3 outs? Because that's not a narrative. That's like a fact.
Dude, put the phone down until Sunday night.
You're gonna
let the season end without complaining on Instagram about your role.
You already messed up by talking to the media yesterday, saying that what am I supposed to do? Everything around here? You already messed up. All right. So
stop digging.
Stop. It's done. All right. It's over with. You're gonna be a free agent. Congratulations. You're gonna make a boatload of money.
A ton of money.
You deserve it. But enough with this team putting it on the media for these quote unquote narratives. Like, bro, we watched the games. You haven't pitched more than 3 outs in a regular season game since 2020.
It's not getting easier.
It's not a narrative. It's a fact.
His next stop, it won't get easier. He'll make $100 million. He'll be in a large market because who pays a closer $100 million? And they're going to be asking the exact same questions of Josh Hader in 2024 in the next city in which he is playing. On the other side, Travis Kelce has discussed his relationship with Taylor Swift on his podcast. What does he have to say? You'll hear that next. Plus, Mark Ziegler, Union Tribune, had a really fascinating article today on the questions facing the Aztecs basketball team heading into fall camp with the opener about 6 weeks away. John Fanta, by the way, also a College Hoops insider. He will join us coming up at 5:30. Stay with us. Travis Kelce weighs in on Taylor Swift and his relationship next on Jon and Jim. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Jim Russell.
Brent Sperry.
No, he doesn't care. But those three people probably care more about Taylor and Travis's relationship than any people in the world. And that's next. Reds down 2-0. Marlins down 9-2.
Oh, gee. I mean, this is so stupid.
Here's the path.
This is just so. Oh man.
Here's the path according to Al Scott. I don't know if Al Scott is right, but there's someone named Al Scott with a check mark.
Hi, Al Scott. Oh, just check marks mean anything anymore.
He's got whatever. He works for the East Village Times. Padres go 4-0. Cubs go 0-5. Last night, Seiya Suzuki literally just didn't catch a ball, so maybe it's possible.
Bro.
Marlins have to go exactly 1-5. They're about to be 0-1 on that quest. And the Reds need to go 0-4. But again, the Reds are trailing the Guardians in the third inning right now in Cleveland 2-0. So Marlins losing game one of a doubleheader. Reds trailing 2-0. Cubs play later today in Atlanta, one of the best teams in baseball with 100 wins. Padres tonight against the Giants. What's even the pitching matchup tonight? Who's pitching for San Diego tonight? I think the Giants are actually a favorite tonight.
Nick Martinez or something.
Is that who it is?
I don't know.
Let me just quickly check on that. It will be
Matt Waldron.
No, Matt Waldron, Sean Manaea.
Oh,
old friend.
Old friend Sean Manaea, who said he became lazy here with the Padres and ended up helping them blow the NLCS last year by giving up 4 or 5 runs coming in relief after old friend Mike Clevenger couldn't get 3 freaking outs.
So 9 hitless innings tonight from Sean Manaea in San Francisco.
Do you remember that? I mean, Sean Manaea just straight up said this offseason, yeah, I got lazy in San Diego. Unbelievable, dude.
Does it surprise you based on everything we've heard this year out of the Padres clubhouse?
No, because there's no accountability.
Meanwhile, Sean Manaea is coming off a 7-inning scoreless outing against the LA Dodgers, isn't he? At Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
I think it was 7 scoreless innings.
He's had a fine year, 7-6
year?
with a 4.51 ERA. It's fine.
It's fine. It's not horrific.
What was his ERA last year with the Padres when he decided that he was going to be
high
lazy?
fours, I would guess. I would guess like 4.9 or 5.0. You have that?
I do have it. Last year he was 8-9 with a 4.96.
Right there. So he's been better with 4.51. All right, so where did you find this? Travis Kelce, I didn't even realize this. He does a podcast with his brother.
Yeah, it's called New Heights. Aaron is obsessed with this show.
It's a show?
It's like a podcast show.
Video. Audio.
It's on YouTube. It's a YouTube show.
What do they normally talk about?
Football.
So they don't talk about Taylor Swift or
No,
dating lives.
I don't listen to it. I just hear it because Aaron's always listening to it. They had Jason Kelce's wife on the other day, and they were talking about how they met. They met over Tinder, Jason Kelce and his wife. And I guess the first date, they go to a bar, and Jason Kelce falls asleep at the bar with her there. And now they're married with like 3 kids. So it was pretty funny.
Had to be there.
I bet you did. Yeah, you did. Anyway.
All right, so what happened today? Travis Kelce talked about dating Taylor Swift?
So this podcast, I'm sure this is going to be their most listened to podcast ever. And it took them 28 minutes to get to the Taylor. They knew what they were doing. They're very smart.
Teasing.
They teased that thing. They made sure to drag that thing out until the midway point to talk about Taylor and Travis. And this is what Travis Kelce had to say about Sunday afternoon and night with Taylor Swift. Brent, close your ears.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah,
Cover
my
your
personal
ears.
life, that's not so personal.
Yeah, well.
I did this to myself, Jason. I know this.
Well, Trav, how's it feel that Taylor Swift has finally put you on the map?
I just thought it was awesome how everybody in the suite had nothing but great things to say about her. You know, the friends and family. She looked amazing. Everybody was talking about her in great light. And on top of that, the day went perfect for Chiefs fans, of course. We script it all, ladies and gentlemen. But to see the slow motion chest bumps, to see the high fives with mom, to see how, Chiefs Kingdom was all excited that she was there, that was absolutely hysterical. It was definitely a game I'll remember. That's for damn sure. And then we just slid off in the getaway car at the end.
I mean, everybody's talking about it.
Everyone, literally everyone, even Bill Belichick. He hasn't talked much about me outside
that?
of, game weeks that we've played, but he made sure to remind me that that's the best catch I've ever had in my life.
Dude, that was a great line by Bill.
Hilarious. And then you got Coach Reed telling everybody he's Cupid. He's been manifesting this the whole time. He's the one that set us up.
Is there any truth to this?
I don't even know how to answer that. I know that he had met the Swift family before, so I don't know. He could have been in the background the whole time.
Dude, Coach Reed playing matchmaker?
Who knew Cupid was so big? Shout out to Taylor for coming through and see me rock the stage.
Okay.
Brent, I have a question for you. So
Hold on, I gotta stop throwing up in my mouth.
Would you, for $1 million, be stuck in a room for 24 hours listening to every single Taylor Swift song for 24 straight hours?
Of course he would.
Sure.
Yeah, he said it doesn't have anything to do with the.
Well,
package.
I don't hate her as much as I hate her fans.
Well,
Her fans are annoying.
she has a massive amount of Swifties out there. And I did look at their podcast this morning, and they posted something on TikTok. Within 30 minutes, it had 1 million views.
I can't wait for her to date someone else that's not an athlete, so we don't have to talk about this.
Well, she's never really dated an athlete.
That's what I'm saying. So I can't wait for her to date like a musician or an actor.
Is
or a
Kristen?
singer.
Kristen is all into this, though, right?
She was for the first day,
Okay.
and now I don't think she's listening to the podcast. I mean, what's he going to say on the podcast?
He said I think he handled it right. Like, he's like, oh, dude, we went back to my house and we did this and we did this.
He's not going to say that.
No, he's not going to say that. But I think listening to him there, it's pretty much confirmed, like, yeah, they're dating, right? They're dating.
I guess so, yeah.
It's interesting. Wait till Sunday. You guys thought this was over, or it's going to be over soon.
No, we're just hoping.
Sunday night is Chiefs Jets in New York.
Mahomes' first game in New York.
That's where Taylor lives. So if she shows up to MetLife, or whatever that stadium's called now, which, by the way, the Jets, for after Sunday's game the Chiefs Bears, the Jets tickets had the highest selling day since the offseason on Monday for Sunday's game versus the Chiefs.
So that's because of Taylor Swift, or because, Patrick Mahomes is coming to town?
I don't know, man.
You might be able to see Taylor. All right, coming up next. Enough of that story.
It's a love
hopefully
story
for like 2 years or longer. Mark Ziegler.
Matters to me, damn it.
Mark Ziegler, the Aztecs basketball team will take the floor in less than 6 weeks. What are the biggest questions heading in to the fall for San Diego State? Plus, still ahead, we'll give away Guns N' Roses tickets. We've got a $50 gift card for Restaurant Week to give away. John Fanta at 5:30, our buddy from Fox Sports on College Hoops. He'll join us later on as well. But hour 2 of Jon and Jim, we'll kick it off with Mark Ziegler. He'll join the show next.
All right, this update's brought to This update's turn it off, dude. This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, they need to win tonight to stay alive. Also, the Cubs need to lose, and the Marlins just lost their first game to the Mets in their doubleheader. So there's still a chance, John. 6:45 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres against old friend Sean Manaea. NBA news of the day, blockbuster trade. 3-team deal between the Suns, the Blazers, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Damian Lillard, the big name in the trade, going from the Blazers to Milwaukee to pair up with Giannis. And tonight, 6 p.m. is the Brady Hoke Coaches Show with Coach Hoke, John Schaefer, and Rich Orenberger right here on San Diego Sports 760. As the Leafs change, lead the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tools let you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We still have those Guns N' Roses tickets to give away, Snapdragon Stadium, October 1st. Be listening for that. Right now, it is great to catch up with Mark Ziegler. San Diego State basketball is approaching. I think we just lost him, Brent, by the way. But San Diego State basketball is less than 6 weeks away. I think I have that right. It might be less than 7 weeks away. I think it's 6. It's November 6th. How many weeks away is that?
Couple weeks.
It's like 6 weeks away.
November 6th?
It's 6 weeks away.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks away. And Mark wrote a really good piece in the UT today about the big questions surrounding San Diego State heading into the year with the departures of players like Matt Bradley.
5 big departures,
Rowe.
5 big questions.
Exactly. So we have Mark back with us here on Jon and Jim. Mark, enjoyed your piece today in the UT as we're approaching the start of an Aztec season in early November. So I guess I'll start it by asking this: when you look at the players they're replacing, Nathan Mensah, Matt Bradley, Keyshawn Johnson, Adam Seiko, Ogwuka Rowe, from your perspective, which of those players is the most challenging for San Diego State to replace?
Well, it's interesting. When I started writing this, I thought, well, it's going to be Nathan Mensah because just for the defensive piece and how good he was, and they don't really have another Nathan Mensah necessarily waiting in the wings. But as I looked into it, they all kind of bring their own little piece to the equation. And I think in their own ways, it's going to be challenging. I think as a whole, just that experience culture factor is going to be the biggest thing. But if you want to drill down and look at technical, and you had to pick one, I guess it still would be Nathan, just because of his ability to switch to 1-5 ball screen, rim protection. They didn't post double nearly as much as they have in previous seasons, just because they knew that Nathan could cover anybody in the nation. It didn't matter who it was. He was as good or better than them defensively. And that's just such a nice thing to have, and gave him so many options on defense. And so it doesn't mean they won't play good defense this year. It just means they've got their work cut out for them, and they'll probably have to do things a little bit differently. And it's probably the biggest unknown of all of them.
Mark, a couple guys on this team that didn't play much last year, but they're spoken very highly of, Elijah Saunders and Miles Byrd. What do you expect their roles to be this season? And do you expect that this team wants them to have pretty big ones?
Well, when you look at the roster, you've got 6 veterans that have experience in college basketball, have played either for San Diego State or other teams quite a bit of basketball. And that's the 4 returning rotation pieces: Lamont Butler, Darian Trammell, Micah Parrish, and Jaden Ledee. And then you add a Reese Waters from USC and Jay Powell from Campbell, and that's a pretty good 6. What Miles Byrd and Elijah Saunders bring are the 7th and 8th guys. And as we know in the past, those guys get, almost starters minutes. That's a huge uptick in expectation, uptick in meaningful minutes, uptick in responsibility for guys who really haven't done anything. And so those, when you talk about unknowns, those are huge unknowns. But they're relying on, because if you go to the next tier of guys, they're guys who've never played college basketball. And so, I think we'll see where they fit in, but they both are versatile players and can play multiple positions, and got a little bit of a taste of it last year. And like you said, they have huge expectations for these guys, and we're going to find out.
Mark Seidler from the UT is with us on Jon and Jim. Mark, we talk a lot about scheduling when it comes to San Diego State basketball, and they have certainly put together a challenging schedule. Provo in the first week at BYU, St. Mary's, potentially Xavier in Vegas, at Grand Canyon, Gonzaga, right? I mean, this certainly isn't a walk in the park. I mean, what do you make of the way they've put together the schedule in anticipation for conference play?
Well, there's sort of 2 pieces here, and we'll see how they fit together. The one piece is they want to play as many good teams as they can. They think they're going to be good. They want to challenge themselves. They want to build a NCAA tournament resume, and this schedule gives them the opportunity for all those things. But the second piece is that doesn't give them a lot of time to sort of back into the season and figure out rotations and minutes and lineups. One of the biggest questions they're going to have is, do they start a small lineup? Do they start Micah Parrish or Reese Waters at the 4? And just go with one quote unquote big and Jaden Ledee, who likes to play on the perimeter as well. And that creates some matchup problems defensively if they play a bigger team. And they're going to play some big teams right out of the gate, because they're playing good, solid, whether it's a St. Mary's, it always has bigs. BYU has bigs. Xavier and Washington are also big teams. Obviously, Gonzaga is known for their bigs. So that doesn't give you the chance to sort of play a bunch of cupcakes, experiment, see how it works, see what doesn't work, try some bigger lineups. They don't get to do that. And they're basically going to, right out of the gate, are going to have to come with what they think is their best lineup and go with it, and just kind of piece it together as they go along. So it's going to be interesting to see how the unknowns of the roster mesh with the challenges of the schedule.
And you mentioned one of the transfers there, Reese Dixon Waters, and Jay Powell is another one. The expectations for those 2 players coming into this season, I would assume Reese Dixon's filling that Matt Bradley role, Jay Powell off the bench. How do you think they're going to fit in with this team this upcoming season?
Well, Reese Waters is the better known player because he played at USC and he was the Pac-12 Sixth Man of the Year. And so obviously the expectations for him are going to be sort of a plug and play for Matt Bradley. He's a different player. He's not going to be the guy. I mean, Matt Bradley is such a unique skill set in the ability to create his own shot off the dribble, one-on-one, if he gets double teamed, to pass. And he filled that role for San Diego State last year. I don't think Reese Waters is just going to give him the ball and everyone's going to clear out and they say, go find us a basket. He's not that kind of player. He can score at all 3 levels, but he's much more a score out of the flow of the offense type guy. He's probably a better help side defender than Matt Bradley. Matt Bradley was very good on the ball, wasn't very good in ball screens, and was sort of average off the ball, and he probably would admit that. Reese Waters is a better overall, all-around defender. And so in many situations, they'll get an uptick from him, and he might have different assignments than Matt Bradley would have last year. Jay Powell is just a unique, interesting guy. He's 6'9", 6'10". He's skinny, but he can handle the ball. He's really agile. He can shoot the 3. He can stretch the floor. And we'll see if he can guard a 4-man at this level. Obviously, he did not play at this level. And so sometimes there's a little bit of transition moving up a level for guys. Sometimes there isn't. But that'll be interesting to watch. He really came out in the end of last season. If you saw him play at the beginning of the season, you would say, he's okay. At the end of last season, he was the best player in the Big South, I think. Most people would agree with that. And his numbers back that up. And so he's a kind of a guy, he could start, he could be a super sub off the bench, but he just gives them a lot of versatility, particularly on the offensive end.
Mark Seidler from the UT with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, free on the iHeartRadio app always as well. So, Mark, you've been writing about the fact that San Diego State has been hosting some really highly rated recruits. It feels like a little bit of like as college basketball yings, the Aztecs go in the opposite direction. This was a little bit of transfer U, where they've had so much success in the transfer portal era and before it as well. And now they're hosting, you wrote about, I think it's Braden Burries, who's one of the highest rated recruits to ever be hosted by San Diego State for a visit. What is San Diego State's strategy here when it comes to prep players as opposed to transfers moving forward?
Yeah, I think you picked up on something there that I'm starting to think is going to be a little bit of a trend. If you ask Brian Dutcher, he's going to say, look, we recruit both. We need our freshmen and four-year players to set our culture. That's why they're so important to us. We recruit character as much as we recruit talent in freshmen. And then transfers we bring in, we've been successful with them. We'll continue to do that. And I still think they will. I think the NIL market, unless something changes drastically in that, either that means there's some sort of national legislation that really reins it in. Don't think that's happening. Or a John Moores decides, you know what, I really want to see, San Diego State basketball succeed. Here's $2 million a year for NIL. I'm not sure that's happening either. They're going to struggle in the NIL market, and that's going to hurt them with transfers. And so I think what they see is sort of an undervalued market with freshmen. Freshmen aren't commanding the big NILs the transfer players are, because transfers are known quantities versus the unknown quantities. Also, college basketball is getting so much older that it's harder and harder for freshmen to play and be an impact. So I think they see that value there, and they're mining that. I mean, you see a guy in Magoon Guelph who is there right now, who is going to probably redshirt, a 7-footer with incredible skills, and they're just going to stash him and develop him. They had a recruit in last week, David Majak from Dream City Christian in the Phoenix area, 7-footer, great hands, but only been playing basketball like 3 years, probably another redshirt candidate. But those are the kind of players that they're looking at right now and kind of building for the future. And look, Brian Dutcher has that kind of capital. A lot of coaches don't. They got to win now. Brian Dutcher just went to the national championship game. He can take a patient approach, and I think they probably will.
Interesting. Really interesting stuff. Obviously, Aztec fans are so excited coming off an appearance in the national championship game and Final Four for the first time in school history. We're about 6 weeks out from that opener against Cal State Fullerton on a Monday night in November at Viejas Arena. Mark, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to the upcoming season, and thanks for doing it as always.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, me too. All right, talk to you guys.
Thanks, Mark. Mark Seidler from the Union Tribune. Now, we are going to, have we even mentioned this on air? Here's a programming note. Do you know what the programming note is?
Let me guess. Saturday? Does that do
No,
Saturday?
that's not-
Oh, okay.
Now, Saturday we've been talking about. We're going to be at L. Smith Watch Party, getting you ready for San Diego State Air Force. Saturday at 5. Our pregame coverage begins at 3.
Vegas.
We're going to be in Vegas again for Mountain West Basketball Media Day, which is Thursday, October 12th. Let me confirm that. It is Thursday, October 12th. We'll talk to Brian Dutcher. We're going to talk to some student athletes, one of which will be Lamont Butler. I think we'll talk to Darion Trammell.
Did he have a good year last year?
Lamont?
Yeah.
We'd have to go back and check.
All right.
He may have had a good year. A little bit like Soto, though. Like, was there a big moment, though? Like, Soto had a nice year, but there hasn't been a moment.
Right. Is there like a moment that you can go back to talk about with Lamont?
Oh, there was the shot he hit in the Final Four, the only game-winning shot in the history of the Final Four with the team trailing to win.
To send them to the national championship?
So there was that. Oh, there was also the Mountain West clincher in the regular season when he hit a 35-footer in Albuquerque against New Mexico at the buzzer. Remember that?
Yeah, these are kind of, I'm not really.
Were those meaningful, impactful
These are
moments?
kind of blanking on me.
Well, we'll be joined in Vegas by Brian Dutcher, Lamont Butler, others. By the way, it's a joint media day with the WCC, the West Coast Conference.
Okay.
And we're expected to be joined by Mark Few on Thursday, October 12th as well. So be listening for some Aztec basketball talk coming up throughout the course of the month of October, of course.
You know, when the national championship happened, it felt like a blur. And the questions after were, all right, how is this going to impact the future for San Diego State? Because it's only going to impact them in the positive, right? It's not going to be a negative.
Man, they got to the national championship game.
Darn it.
It's too bad.
And it was like, okay, we might not know the impact for another 5 years, maybe, right? As far as the recognition goes for this university, for basketball or whatever the case may be, right? It might take a little bit, but there will be an impact. I think there's an impact already happening right now that is with what we just talked about with Mark Ziegler hosting basically a top 10 recruit, the highest recruit they've ever hosted. Ever.
You're right.
I mean, Brian Dutcher is very well respected. He could have, even with just a little bit of a run in the NCAA tournament last year, potentially could have done this. But I think the exposure now, you saw, some high school kids and potentially some transfers. Reese Waters was one of them. There was like, I'm making a call to transfer right now on our way to the national championship game. Who was that? Reese Waters. And so you're seeing the impact, I feel like, pretty quickly with this program.
Yeah, the kid you're referring to, we talked about briefly, this kid Braden Burries, who's out of the Inland Empire. San Diego State cleans up historically in the Inland Empire. He's the number 11 recruit in the country. The visits he's taken so far are to Houston, Duke, and San Diego State. I mean, that's very impressive. We'll see if they can land a player of his caliber. But even if they do, a strategy they've had in terms of bringing players in and developing them has worked.
Yeah,
routinely over and over again, including this past year. All right. By the way, John Phantom, more on college hoops. He's got Lamont Butler as one of his top 20 players or so in the nation for next season. He'll join us coming up at 5:30. Right now, though, let's get to this.
Are the Bucks the clear favorite to win the NBA title this year following their trade for Dame Lillard?
Well, did they just get moved to the favorite in Vegas to win the NBA championship?
I would think they would.
I think they did.
Okay.
Right? I think they're definitely the favorite out of the East for sure. I can't think of any other team in the East that
pre-trade it was the Celtics.
I mean, Celtics. We're going to see how the Celtics play. They didn't move Brown. They kept him. They did move Marcus Smart though. Out in the West, the Warriors seem old. We'll see how that works with Chris Paul. The Lakers are also old. I think you'd have to say that the Bucks right now are the favorite. They're starting five, pretty good. I mean, you got Middleton still there. You got Lopez is still there. Giannis, Damian Lillard. I think Damian and Giannis and Portis is still like.
Can you break down their bench? Who do you like coming off? Who are your first three off the bench this year in Milwaukee?
Brent can do that for you.
We should talk about that maybe tomorrow.
Happy they traded stupid Grayson Allen.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, they better be the favorite. They won a title like 2 years ago. They still got one of the best players in the league in his prime. They just added like this unbelievable scoring threat.
Yeah.
Are you really going to do better? I mean, that's a pretty good team, you would think.
Yes, I am a Warriors honk, but I think thinking about what is the perfect running mate for Giannis, I was like, it's Steph Curry.
And now they got kind of a Steph Curry.
And if you can't get Steph Curry, you got Damian Lillard, who's also like a Steph Light, who can shoot 35-footers. I think it's a perfect match.
I agree with you. All right, next question.
Does Colorado have a puncher's chance to beat USC?
I'll say they have a puncher's chance just because it's at home in Colorado. And the timing of it could impact how USC might play. USC does not have a good defense, but when you have the best quarterback and potentially the best quarterback prospect ever in college football on your team and Lincoln Riley on the other side, they have a puncher's chance, but it might also look kind of ugly on Saturday for Colorado.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I feel as if they were exposed last week. They do not have Travis Hunter. USC, by the way, didn't play well last week. I think that alone is motivational. They didn't play well against Arizona State. Their offense is too good, and I just don't trust Colorado to keep up with SC's offense. I think best case, they're going to give up 49 points. I mean, and they're not scoring that. So I think it's another blowout this week for Colorado on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, it would have been one thing if they would at least put up a fight last week against the Ducks, but
that thing was over 20 minutes in.
Exactly.
I do think though that them being at home might make a little bit of a difference. USC last week at Arizona State.
Yeah, they looked awful.
They did not look good. Arizona State kind of hung in there for a while.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I think if anything, it could look like that.
Yeah, maybe. And SC won that game maybe by 2 scores.
Yeah.
14 points or so, maybe. Next question.
You guys be watching the Ryder Cup this weekend?
Let me answer that for you real quick. No.
Say that wasn't very quick.
I was intrigued for a moment, but then Darren mentioned that it's on in the middle of the night because it's in Rome.
Yeah, I can't do it.
And to be honest, I don't think I've really watched many Ryder Cups. It sounds good in theory, but I don't think I'm doing the 2 a.m. Thursday night opening round action. So probably not.
I'll watch on replay. Like I'll watch all the highlights. I'll watch the highlights.
All right. Next question.
How many times will the Padres make the playoffs this decade?
All right, so they're not going to make it this year.
Well, okay, Debbie Downer.
So I got 6 years left, right? Am I right on that? No, 7.
6 seasons. Because they've had 4. 20, 21, 22, 23.
I'll say
there's only 10 years this decade.
I'll say 2.
So they go 0 for their next 6?
What do you mean?
Well, they've already made it 2. How many times did they make the playoffs this decade? The answer is at least 2.
Okay, 4 then.
So 2 more times in the next 6 years? I'll say 3. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm going to say every other year on average for the next 6 years, which, by the way, is the best decade in the history of the franchise.
Yeah.
5 out of 10, but the playoff has expanded
disaster seasons
every other year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's easier to get to the postseason, but 5 out of 10 isn't terrible.
We made the postseason 5 out of 10 years. Don't look at the dysfunctional years, though.
The other 5 years.
The other 5 years are great.
Well, can you win a World Series one of those?
Yeah, it's about can they win a World Series? That is the main question. You make the postseason, that's fine, but the roster that you constructed with the money payroll that you have committed, it is World Series, guys. World Series, not about just making the postseason, unfortunately.
Brent, do we have, and I think the answer is yes, we've got the $50 gift card to Dobson's for San Diego Restaurant Week. Okay, we'll give that away for Trainwreck Radio Sports Trivia coming up later this hour. We also have Guns N' Roses tickets we'll give away in the 5 o'clock hour. On the other side, a potential landing spot for Juan Soto if he's dealt from Jeff Passan.
Jeff Passan doesn't sound good when you listen to this.
No, it doesn't. So Jeff Passan on the possibility of the Padres moving Juan Soto and where he may end up. Plus, we'll give away that $50 gift card. John Fanta, Fox Sports, will join us at 5:30 as we get ready for college hoops here on San Diego Sports 760 in about 5 or 6 weeks. And we'll also give away those Guns N' Roses tickets. We'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Shave Fry. I've been telling you about Windmill Farms. I was over there earlier today for lunch. It is such a great spot. The best place in San Diego to pick up a sandwich. Great ingredients, affordably priced. You need to swing by during your work week. It's the spot to go. It's the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered for all your game day needs. So as you get ready for football this weekend, start over at Windmill Farms. We've told you about their farm fresh produce and meats. Their beer selection is incredible. I saw it again today, the craft beer selection specifically. Plus, their full deli with award-winning sandwiches. If you pick up that sandwich card, you'll get your 8th sandwich free. They're centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard. You heard me right. With the deli sandwich card, you'll get your 8th sandwich free. Off of Del Cerro Boulevard, across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa, Windmill Farms is your family-owned market. Great, great family, great people. They've been serving the San Diego area for 20 years. You can visit windmillfarmsmarket.com. There, you're going to see their weekly specials. You can also check them out on Instacart, have your groceries delivered to your doorstep. But trust me, if you're looking for a lunch spot in San Diego, you got to try Windmill Farms with those deli sandwiches. The best price you're going to find with the best ingredients. Shop local. Shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, Giants, final game of their 3-game series tonight up in San Francisco. 6:45 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres against old friend Sean Manaea. NBA news of the day. It's finally happened. Damian Lillard has been traded from the Blazers in a 3-team deal to the Milwaukee Bucks. And tonight, 6 p.m., Brady Hoke Coaches Show with John Rich and Coach Hoke right here on San Diego Sports 760. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tools let you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right now from their website. Visit Indeed.com.
Why are you giving me the finger?
Because you looked at me because I messed up the start of the read.
Well, you always do. That's not why I'm looking at you. Cubs are losing.
Great.
Are we done?
Yeah.
By the way, he does a full update.
I didn't know if he did a sponsor or not. I wasn't listening.
Okay, he does a full update and no mention of the wild card standings in the National League.
Why?
Because the Padres are still alive.
Stop it.
Reds are losing. Cubs are losing. Marlins have lost.
All right,
This is the scenario. This is the dream scenario. This is the one in a century.
Hold on.
Come from behind playoff run.
Okay, hold on.
What are you holding on for?
I'm looking at playoff odds on Fangraphs.
No, it's wrong. It says 0%. It doesn't know the Padres are still alive. It says 0.0%. It doesn't know there's a scenario they can get in.
0.0% chance.
But it's wrong. I've cracked the code. Fangraphs doesn't know what I know, which is that the Padres are still mathematically alive. Fangraphs thinks it's over. They've moved on to 1-2-3 Cancun with the Padres. And that might be where the Padres are if they lose tonight.
There's still a chance.
There's still a chance. There's still a chance. Now, Jeff Passan's moving on.
Oh, yeah, he's moved on.
He was on a podcast. I don't know which podcast
I stand
it was.
with Jeff Passan.
Okay, so Jeff Passan's moving on. For whatever reason, we're talking potential landing spots for Juan Soto this offseason, even though he's under contract.
Yeah.
So this is Jeff Passan earlier today. Take a listen to this.
I think the Mets are a scary possibility for Juan Soto. And I think the Mets probably are in a better position to offer prospects to go out and get him, because I think Mets ownership has shown the aptitude and the desire to sign guys like Juan Soto long term.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was where
That was where it cut off. All right. Very abrupt.
That's that.
But he said, like, the Mets, Soto to the Mets is scary, essentially.
Yeah. Soto being traded is a real possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Passan saying it. That means he's heard things, and not saying it's going to happen, but there's a pretty good bet that there at least will be discussions about it.
Developing news. Kevin Acee has written an article. Padres' first offseason fix addressing the rift between Bob Melvin and AJ Preller. The subheader is that team chairman Peter Seidler is said to prefer both men remain for 2024, with a meeting set for the end of the season to address conflict between teams' top baseball decision makers. Now, I haven't read the article, but that's the headline and the subheader. Kevin Acee, moments ago at the UT, team chairman Peter Seidler said to prefer both men remain for 2024. From Kevin Acee, 1 minute ago. There's your lead.
An internal review is underway in a significant meeting. I know you just read it.
Yep.
24 hours after Sunday's season finale, it will involve both men. This is like happening on the fly. This is interesting as well. Those advisors include Padres CEO Eric Grubner and at least one member of the Seidler Equity Partners.
So that they're going to meet within 24 hours of Sunday's season finale. It'll involve Preller-Melvin, Grubner, and someone from the equity team that Peter Seidler oversees. Everything has to be on the table, said one highly placed source. To be a fly on the wall.
I love when Kevin has these like parts of the article that are like what's
like
it called?
Headers, like bolded headers.
Yeah, and this says
the fracture.
The fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what are you gonna say, Brent?
I was gonna say all fall is gonna be nothing but those two doing team building exercises,
Probably.
like playing laser tag, and all
Yeah.
right, guys, it's time to go zip lining.
Could be. What do you
All right.
got on the fracture, Jim, other than tweeting?
I'm just tweeting out, we're
Yeah,
all-
sure. Don't worry about the show.
Yeah, no. I'm
Yeah.
tweeting about the show. Like,
No, don't
hey,
worry- don't
we're
worry
talking about this right now.
Yeah. Sure.
Chill.
Funny, I don't see that tweet.
That just happened. All right, he says multiple people, mostly from inside the organization, but also from the outside, have for more than a year painted a picture of an uneasy alliance between the two men, Preller and Melvin, who often see baseball and the value of interpersonal relationships differently. This was navigated throughout 2022.
How about this quote?
Yeah, it's hard to read on the fly.
How about this? Said one person uniquely positioned to have dealt with both men over the past 2 years. It's a quote unquote civil war. That's a pretty strong statement.
Where's that?
It's under the fracture.
Oh, it's a civil war.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's a strong statement.
Let's see here. He has the effect. He has about Preller. There's a lot of hair. There's a lot
in here.
There's a lot.
This will involve reading, Jim. Have you ever read an article this long, Jim? I'm serious.
I will.
Because this is probably 3,000 words. So we'll review this and go through it in the 5 o'clock hour.
The bottom of the article says the future.
Okay.
It says Melvin and Preller, according to the assessment of virtually everyone involved, both have the success of the organization at heart.
I would hope so.
Both also have a lot to lose if this marriage crumbles. Obviously, those things are to be determined among the coming days, is whether the man who built the team and the manager tasked with running it can continue to work together toward a common goal.
Here's my lead. Peter Seidler, this is from Kevin Acey, is said to prefer AJ Preller and Bob Melvin return. That's a big statement. That is a huge statement. I think a lot of Padres fans are not going to be thrilled with that. If, in fact, Peter Seidler retains AJ Preller and Bob Melvin, how do you feel about that?
I freaking hate it, dude.
If that's the lead, right? That's the story. Are both coming back for 2024 based off this season?
You cannot have this season happen. I'm sorry, without consequences. You can't run it back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It's done. Peter Seidler, if this happens, all right, it's on him now. This is his fault. Okay. Sorry, Peter. You're blinded here. It's unfortunate. I wish you really weren't. And, the caveat here is the health of you is the most important thing that matters. So I hope that you get it as healthy as you possibly can, as soon as you possibly can. But the direction of this franchise needs to change. And if you continue down this path with Bob Melvin, along with AJ Preller, you are setting up for failure in the future. You might get a little success here and there, but the overall end game of this marriage is going to be an ugly divorce. Rip the Band-Aid off now. It's done. Stop thinking Preller's something he's not. He is not this great general manager or president of baseball operations. He has failed you. He's gone 9 seasons, 7 losing. He does not have consistency that is needed to be running an organization and a franchise that's being given this much money to a payroll that is not competing and not working. It's over.
This is a Wendy's, sir. The way you just
I'm sorry.
spoke in that, like whatever style you were using there, I had to laugh.
We're all waiting for this. Okay. Now it's not official. Nothing's official.
Well, here's what is official.
But if the path of what they're leaning towards is the one of bringing them both back, give me a break.
Well, here's the fascinating part of it. You're meeting within 24 hours of the end of a season, which to me means that something's still hanging in the balance. Why would you meet 12 hours or 24 hours later if everyone's back? Like, it still has to be determined if we can work with each other, hypothetically. The other part of this that is fascinating, and we've speculated on, and it looks like successfully, is that Eric Rupner has become a key decision maker in the Padres organization involving baseball operations. their CEO, and for those that aren't aware, CEOs of baseball teams don't oversee baseball operations. They oversee marketing. And Eric Rupner's done a very good job marketing this club. But for Eric Rupner to be involved in the future direction of the baseball side of the operation, Melvin, Preller, etc., that's kind of an interesting development here in 2023.
Yeah, and we have to dive into this more, but you're right. The general census and I guess summarizing this piece.
Well, we haven't read it yet.
Well, the headline.
Right.
I mean, the headline is just like, oh, here we go. Here we go. There's going to be no consequences for this season. This is going to be a swept under the rug. And I'm not saying it's going to be like a fish, like everything's going to be swept under the rug. But if you keep these guys around, especially Preller, you are sweeping this under the rug, man. You let 2021 slide because you happen to get Melvin after Tingler, which was a good thing. And that was it. It could not fail. It has failed. And then you're going to run it back? I mean, give me a break, dude.
I'll tell you, man.
Give me a break.
Monday's going to be really interesting. I think we'll get some answers one way or the other Monday involving the San Diego Padres' future with their executives and with their manager potentially as well. Dave, call back at 5 p.m. We'll get into this at 5 o'clock right now. We need callers to play Trainwreck Radio. That is trivia, Team John versus Team Jim. Who wants a $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week? First two callers will be our contestants. The number to call, 844-570-1360. 844-570-1360. Call right now. We have a great giveaway. $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. First two callers will be our contestants. Call right now. 844-570-1360. We'll play trivia on the other side. We'll get into Kevin Acey's article about the future for both AJ Preller and Bob Melvin at 5 p.m. Stay with us on John and Jim.
I think a lot. I've heard all different things. You guys don't talk. You don't speak. We talk. 5 times a day. I think we're constantly talking. Sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. I'm asking him his opinion all the time, and and getting his feedback, and letting him run his club. So, I think from that point in time, we're always talking. We're always having conversation. We have a tight relationship, and at the end of the day, he's expect him to continue to lead this team here down the stretch, and hopefully get us in a playoff spot here in the last couple of weeks.
So someone is not being truthful because he said that, and then Kevin quotes a person uniquely positioned to have dealt with both men. It's a civil war. Like that to me didn't sound like a civil war. What AJ Preller just said.
No, it sounded like everything's great.
Everything's great. We talk 5 times a day. I talk to Bob more than I talk to my mom.
Everything's fine. Everything's great.
All right, let's get back to it at 5 o'clock. We've got those Guns N' Roses tickets to give away right now. Sports trivia.
All right, guys, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Mike and Ryan. Mike, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Gonna go against the trend, but going with Jim.
Wow. Okay. Do you know who that is?
Mike.
Okay, good.
You didn't know.
I did. No, I did. I was testing you.
Ryan, you get John. You go with that?
Oh, yeah.
All righty here.
Great.
Brent, what is today's question of the day?
All right, guys, the NBA season kicks off in less than 4 weeks. Today's question: can you name any of the top 10 picks from this April's NBA draft? So we're just looking for anybody that was taken in the top 10 in this year's NBA draft.
Oh, man.
Throwing it back to April.
I'm trying to think who had the number 1 overall pick.
All right, who's up first?
Who is up first? That would be Ryan. Ryan, what's your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Oh, wow. John, I need you.
All right, I'll give you the layup, or maybe the slam dunk because of his height. Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, yeah.
Wemby.
Oh, geez. How did I forget that? Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Wemby. Is he on the list? He is. First overall?
First overall.
Out of Paris, France.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty
Okay.
good. Mike, you're up
Brittany's favorite
next.
player.
Yeah, Mike, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Gonna say that we're going with Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller out of Alabama.
Very
Well
good.
done.
Good job. Ryan, you are up next. What is your second guess? You do not have a lifeline, so it's all up to you, man.
Jim's been on a roll lately. Looks like it's going to continue. Jeez, dude, NBA is not my thing. The draft, anyways. I'll go with what was it the other day? Derek Schmiederson.
Derek Schmiederson.
Yeah,
I like it. Not on the list, Derek Schmiederson.
Oh, he was top 20. That's right.
He was top 20. Schmiederson.
That's very Fletch of you.
That might be. I'm sorry, Ryan. That might be.
At least it was a guess. No, it's good. Better than I don't know.
Chevy Chase Fletch, not Morning Show Fletch.
That made me die.
That was
oh
good.
My goodness. Good job there. Mike, what is your second guess? And you do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
No, I'm going to go Anthony Black.
Anthony Black out of Arkansas. Well done. San Diego State played both Black and Miller last year.
Yeah.
Two top 10 picks.
Way to go.
All right, Ryan, what's your final create a player name that you're going to guess here?
And Derek Schmiederson's not.
Reach down deep here. It's going to be Xavier Phil Sickelson.
Xavier Phil Sickelson. No! Unbelievable. That was not correct.
Xavier
Phil Mickelson. Congratulations, Mike.
What?
Who else was on this list? Xavier P. and Michael, whomever were not.
Was Michael Olmacandi on this list?
Seriously.
Yeah, like 20 years ago.
Right.
Wemby was number 1. Miller was 2. Scoot Henderson,
the
Blazers' new point guard now that Dame's gone. Then Eamon Thompson was 4. His brother, Asura Thompson, was 5.
Of course.
Then Anthony Black was 6. This sounds like it could be the name he was going for. Bilal Kolbe?
Maybe.
Blau Kolbe.
Yeah.
Another French dude.
Coldplay.
Dries Walker. Taylor Hendricks, and then Cason Wallace was 10th.
All right, Mike, congratulations. You've won that $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. It's going on now through October 1st with over 100 of San Diego's finest dining establishments, a diverse range of cuisines from farm to table to international flavors, multi-course menus starting at $20. Visit SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. We'll give away Guns N' Roses tickets on the other side of a break in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, coming up next, we continue to react to Kevin Ace's reporting that Peter Seidler is said to prefer both AJ Preller and Bob-Melvin return in 2024. He also wrote this, but still on the table, are Melvin and Preller staying, both being fired, or one of them being fired? So
everything's on the table.
Still on the table. We'll react 5 o'clock hour, Jon and Jim next.
Oh, are we back? That was on video. That was on video. All right, this update's
brought to you by John's Diet Coke.
Yes. All right, this update is brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, final game of their 3-game series tonight in San Francisco. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres against old friend John Mania. Brady Hoke Show tonight, 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760 with John and Rich and Coach Hoke. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tools lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We continue to react to Kevin Ace's reporting within the hour at the UT. Subheader, team chairman Peter Seidler is said to prefer both A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin remain for 2024. Now, at the break, we had a developing situation. I bought a Diet Coke. I've got this, what is it? What? Obsession?
Yes.
With Diet Coke? It's very weird.
And I have an obsession with regular Coke.
But I just started my obsession at the NCAA tournament.
Well, it started when you had to do the morning show that one week, remember? Because you started drinking Diet Cokes.
Yes, I do remember that.
And
I do.
Celsius water.
Well, anyway, they restocked the Diet Coke in the vending machine.
Yeah,
I
it's
picked it
very
up.
cold. I drank mine today. It was freezing.
Look at this. It has like frozen ice in mine, but I opened up the Diet Coke and the thing exploded on me. I didn't know what to do.
Welcome to the world of carbonation, John.
Right,
and Jim was yelling at me what are you suck it up?
What are you doing?
I don't even know what he was saying.
And if you're watching us on YouTube,
typically you can't see us at the break, but we forgot to put up graphic.
And so if you watch us on YouTube, this is another reason
to watch this back.
You can watch it back. This is another reason to go to check us out on YouTube. Also, check us out on the iHeartRadio app. Those are the best places to listen and consume our content.
Oh, and San Diego Sports 760.
Oh yeah, and the station as well. Duh. But if you want to go back, I'm very curious to see what you look like because in person it was a disaster. It was
a complete disaster.
This reminded me of the disaster of the Padres, but I'm in a Padres mindset. What? Oh no! You can't look at me. I'm filming you, and
I look like such an idiot.
You are an idiot.
I know.
Anyway, what are we?
I don't know.
Padres dysfunction.
Dude, you read this article. Here's my takeaway. I read the entire article. It reeks of dysfunction again.
Yeah.
That's what it does. That's why when Kevin Ace joined us on Friday, he's like, I'm actually writing a second piece on what I wrote a week ago. And here it is. I mean, this is the second shoe to drop. And again, the story is that Seidler, according to Kevin, would prefer that A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin return in their roles. However, he leaves open the possibility that anything could happen. He says, still on the table is they stay, they're both gone, or one stays, one goes. Well, that's every possibility involving those two men.
So, all right. My thoughts on this is I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I'll try not to.
Okay.
I will not jump to conclusions, but I will say this. If they both return, Peter Seidler that then it's on him. This will be his fault. It will be for everything that's happened with AJ Preller for 9 seasons to allow this dysfunctional relationship to continue for just another year, because Melvin's only under contract for another year. So they're going to have to decide, what are they going to do with Melvin? Are you going to let him do a lame duck season and see how it goes? Like that's another part of this whole equation is what Melvin, I know, has said publicly, like, yeah, I want to return. I know there's also been reports of like, yeah, he wants to return because he wants to manage, because also he's going to make $4 million next year. But if these two people return, it's on Peter, man. I'm sorry. It just is. It's Peter's fault. He didn't learn from 2021. You gave him one more chance. The glowing reviews of AJ Preller that he said he's the only person that's saying this about this guy. He's the only person. Nobody else. So this right now, we've talked a lot about his blind faith with AJ. It will be 100% confirmed that the blind faith that Peter Seidler has for AJ Preller is hurting this franchise.
Well, I would say this, and I think that there's a lot in there that could absolutely be accurate. I would just say this, that if both return in 2024, then like you've said before as well, you better win in 2024. The attention, the focus only ratchets up. Like you have to win in 2024, because guess what? If you don't win in 2024 and then you make moves, people are going to say you've done it years late. Could have done it after 2021. Could have done it after 2023. Why did you wait to see it through in 2024? This has been reported previously, not just by Kevin, not just by Dennis, but also by others, that they just don't see eye to eye. By the way, that happens in sports. There's players on teams that aren't the best of friends. I'm sure there's executives that don't have the best relationships with coaching staffs. They just got to make it work. And the problem this year is it's not working. The issue last year was, okay, I mean, actually, it did work. To some extent, it worked out last year, so maybe that was masking, like we've talked about. But listen, you don't have to love each other, but you got to make a way for this to work in 2024 if, in fact, they do return.
I don't see it. I just don't see it, dude.
You don't see them
no
working together or them returning?
I don't see it working. I just don't. I think when a relationship like this, like, it's just not going to work, dude. AJ's not changing. That's why it's not working. It's because you got a guy who's so stubborn and set in his ways that it's for the long period of time is not going to work. And if you're saying, well, just bring him back for one more year, so then you're just laying off the inevitable of what? Firing Bob Melvin? Or not even firing him, just like not retaining him? Like, what's the point of that? What's the point of that? To run it back because you thought that this year, Peter, was just bad luck? Give me a break. Give me a break. 2021 happened, and you learned nothing from it. 2023 happened, and it looks like if the path of bringing these two people back, mainly Preller, you've learned nothing. You've learned absolutely nothing, and you are doomed to fail in the future again. You might have a couple seasons where it's nice, but overall, the dysfunction with this franchise remains as long as AJ Preller is at the helm of president of baseball operations and general manager.
Well, it's interesting the caveat you just put in there, Lo. You might have a couple of seasons that are nice. That would be pretty nice. If they have a couple of seasons that are nice.
I'm trying to give them at least a little benefit of the doubt. It's very hard to do that with this franchise, but last year did happen as well. And it was also the first year with Melvin and Preller. Like the first year of Tingler and Preller. Now, albeit it was a 60-game season, it worked, right? It worked, but then it worked
really well.
Then it deteriorated to a massive failure. Same thing with Melvin. The first year with Melvin, it worked, and it worked big in the postseason. And then now it's deteriorated and become a massive failure.
This is an example. Like this would be me. I'm not great in like confrontational situations. I would not be a good manager of people. I don't want to bring Brent and Jim into my office and be like, hey, you guys got an issue, figure it out or you're both gone. I would just allow the issue to continue because that's just who I am. So like, it's not an enviable spot for Peter to be in, but it's but here's the thing. The difference in Peter Seidler and me is nobody really cares if both Brent and Jim return. And I'm not,
Wait,
by the way,
what?
I'm not in charge of whether you guys stay or not.
What's
But
happening?
in this hypothetical of like Brent and Jim have issues and they continue to fester, well, who cares? It's small stakes. We're talking about Sports Talk Radio. This is big stakes, huge stakes, professional sports. At some point, you just got to put your foot down and you got to make a decision. And you can't just keep putting it off, because if you're doing that, you're hurting the organization. You got to do what's best for the organization, whatever that is, whatever you believe in, you got to do that on Monday. If you're Peter Seidler, that's what you got to do.
What are the odds that they sit those two down and just go, look, either you two start getting along or you're both out of here. I'm not going to pick one of you. Either you get up, that's your choice. Either you guys try to get along better or you're both fired.
But does it work?
What are we in freaking middle school
And does
here?
it work though?
Well,
if I bring you two in, if you hate each other, I love using this hypothetical. If Brent hates Jim and Jim hates Brent,
we don't hate
and
each
I
other.
bring you in and you both want to keep your job and say,
Speak for
figure it out,
yourself.
figure it out, or you're gone, you're both gonna be like, all right, we'll figure it out. I mean, you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, but then you're gonna go home and tell your dad or your wife or your girlfriend or fiance, I still hate him, but I got to keep this relationship going because I'm getting paid every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, does it really change anything if you have that conversation?
No. When you don't get along with somebody,
You don't get along with
you
somebody.
don't get along with
I
somebody.
mean, things can change, but come on, in this relationship,
Yeah. For how this relationship needs to work. And Kevin also mentioned there that there is no through line that he can see, or by his reporting, that the relationship between Preller and Melvin has hurt this clubhouse. I think the clubhouse is on an island of its own, honestly.
right? His reporting is that their dynamic is not the reason why the team this year has performed the way it's performed.
Correct. And I also do think like the clubhouse is its own issue. Okay. The clubhouse has had problems all season long. So,
Right, which even goes beyond like AJ Preller.
yeah, but there are things in that clubhouse that could be related to this relationship. And one of the
Sure.
things that he mentioned was like the Matt Carpenter
Yep.
drama. I remember when Matt Carpenter didn't play for like 3 weeks.
Right, which may have been like a
Headbutting.
headbutting situation between Preller and Melvin. Why is Carpenter on this roster? Why is he not playing?
And Melvin's just like, I'm not playing him.
Right.
And Preller's like, you're playing him. Like
Yeah,
he's
because under
here.
contract for 2
He's
years.
under
Yeah.
contract. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Right.
And that is where, like, if that is the problem and issue with your general manager and your manager, then you have to get rid of one or the other. And in this case, the man that you have to get rid of is AJ Preller.
Right, because if you get rid of Bob Melvin,
It's the same problem.
Yeah, what are you
over and over
really?
again.
I mean, what are you really doing? By the way, Dave's been really patient. Let's go to Dave. 844-570-1360.
Unload, Dave. It's all the floor is
Yeah,
yours.
I
I,
mean,
know
Dave,
where
what do
you're
you
going.
make of this again? Kevin Acey reporting in the UT today that Peter Seidler prefers AJ Preller and Bob Melvin return for 2024. Your reaction?
Well, it's a setup. And first of all, Jim, hang in there, buddy. I know you're getting a lot of slings and arrows. Yours truly does too. You got a lot of pom-pom wavers out there and bobblehead lovers that don't understand. This is about the trophy, man. At the end of the year, it's about the trophy. And, anything less than that is unacceptable in my world. And that's just an East Coast attitude that I have. And let me tell you what's going on really fast. You're making Bob Melvin an offer that he has to refuse, because there's no way on God's green earth that man, with the pride that he has and the experience he has, is going to kowtow to some little ignorant, wet-nosed kid that after 10 years of being in this position hasn't changed one single bit. So basically, they know, they at the top, the Padres, Peter and the bunch of them, all hell will break loose if they fire Melvin. So the only thing they can do is make him an offer that basically puts the burden on him. And he has to walk away at that point. You're not going to fix this thing. Or the only other way to fix it, you go ahead, Peter, and I dare you to give Bob Melvin the same kind of extension you gave to your boy, AJ. And then we'll talk about it. Then we'll know you're serious. But this is nothing more than a put-up. It's a con game.
Dave, thank you. I mean, here's the thing, though. Dave, if you're correct, if they're basically making Melvin walk away, then isn't it also a stare-down contest? Why would you walk? You're owed money. Now, maybe the walk is an agreement. Maybe they say that both parties agreed to separate, and he gets paid. And maybe that is part of it. But if you think in some stare down, I mean, let's be honest. Are you walking away from $3-4 million?
No.
Would you do that?
No.
If you were in a bad job, Jim, but you were owed $3 or $4 million, wouldn't you stick it out for another year? I mean, that's life-changing money. Now he's received a lot of money. He's earned. I don't know how much he needs it. And I know he can get another job off of this, but I don't think there's a lot of people walking away from $3 or $4 million, even if things are bad.
I don't. And I think Bob wants to manage. I think he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think he sees potential in this team. There are still good things here with this franchise. But the main things with the franchise that drives the franchise and creates the culture of the franchise is the problem. I just don't see how you can have one meeting 24 hours after the season ends on Sunday and everything's going to be fine.
Dude, you should have had the meeting.
Like, you should
they've
be
had every
having
Thursday off in
nonstop.
September.
I know.
Every Thursday off in September. They have Zoom, by the way. They may have Teams, which is a very good app.
It's mind-boggling to me how I'm not saying it's an easy fix, but like the problems that everybody sees and the solutions to those problems, or at least, what potentially could be the solution to the problem, aren't seen by this actual franchise.
Well, let's see.
I know. And
that's the
we'll
one caveat.
We'll see.
Because even Kevin is writing, well,
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. Let's go back to the phones. A lot of people want to weigh in. What do you want to happen on Monday? 844-570-1360. Kevin Acey reporting that Peter Seidler prefers to have Preller and Melvin back. What do you want? 844-570-1360. Roy, you're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, dudes. How you doing?
Hey, man.
Good, man.
All right. Hey, listen, in life, and I think you guys would agree with this, because you guys were just talking about it, when two people do not get along at a job and the boss gives them a command, says, from experience, both of those guys don't stick around. Something happens because they just can never figure it out. And that's the bottom line of life, okay? And when you're dealing with two egos, and look, I think the common denominator here is this. Preller has had more than enough time to figure this thing out. And we're all getting excited before the year's over. Now we're playing armchair managers and general managers at the end of the year. Look back and see how bad it did. After 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's count Hassan Kim in there, they had 4 holes basically in the lineup every day. And your DHs, you were collecting practically Social Security. So it turned out to be a debacle. How the roster was constructed, that goes back to this GM, who's had more than enough opportunities, in my opinion, to get the right manager in here, and we have the right manager. Otherwise, you are scrapping, you're starting all over again. That's my opinion. And then, if I could ask you guys a question, I'll take a call. I'll hang up and listen off the air. A couple of weeks ago, there's an article you guys, I'm sure, probably read it, talking about ex-Padres who've been on the, and who spoke out about the organization. I said they weren't prepared. And there's this mismanagement, miscommunication between upper management and the team. And a lot of players just felt like there was just a disconnect, and they just felt, there were things wrong, dysfunctional. I'm sure you guys probably read that article. Just want to get your comments on that. And I appreciate you taking my call, man.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. Our reaction is that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yep.
And if you continue down that same path, how does it change?
Exactly.
844-570-1360. If you want to weigh in, what do you want to see happen here at the end of the season? Preller, Melvin, what decisions did Peter Seidler make? Vito, you're on with Jon and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I've called in and made this point before, but I just don't understand, if you're Peter Seidler, how you could look at this situation and determine that you want to keep AJ in any capacity, whether it's with Melvin gone or Melvin there. You've had 9 years of this experiment. You've seen enough results to where you could determine it's a failure. No matter which way you look at it, it's a failure, right? So how could you in your right mind decide, let's keep him another year when you know what the results are going to be? It just is mind-boggling to me that it's even an option that he's considering to keep this guy around for one more year, because we know what's going to happen. Anyway, guys, that's all I want to say. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Vito. Appreciate it. People are passionate about it, as they should be. This thing isn't acceptable. If the Cubs hold on to a lead they didn't last night, the Padres are eliminated. And that's the end of the story. There's no but. The Padres are eliminated with their $253 million payroll and their expectations to win a World Series.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And if you're cool with it, then you try again. If you're not cool with it, you make change to put your organization in a better spot moving forward. What path are they going to choose?
If the path is remain the same, you are destined to fail. What it was like, if nothing changes, you're not going to change. Nothing will change at all.
Right.
You can't sit there and expect things to be different when with a couple meetings. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break.
They've had their meetings.
Like you just hear it in Bob's voice. You talk to Bob and you ask him any questions about AJ Preller. He's like, yeah, we're fine, whatever. I mean, yesterday he was on Sirius XM radio with our buddy Mike Farron.
Yep.
Love Mike. And Mike asked him about the relationship between him and AJ Preller. And it was like, well, he spends a lot of money and he's built a roster with a lot of high priced players.
And it's fine.
It's fine. That's not fine. It's not.
And does that get fixed when you meet with Eric Grupner in a nice hotel room?
And Eric Grupner is the CEO. Why is Eric Grupner dealing with
there could be a reason. If Peter Seidler's health is the reason, then understandable. The organization needs to continue to operate.
Doesn't it feel like a mess to you? Like, doesn't it feel like an app? Like
it could be.
2021 at the end of 2021.
That felt like a mess.
Felt like a mess. Does this feel worse than 2021?
It may. Let's see what happens Monday. It may.
You know, I think that's a legitimate question. Is this end of the year worse than the once in a generation collapse?
That's a good question. They've played better baseball down the stretch, but it feels like there's so many question marks heading into the offseason.
I'm with you. I feel like this year, and maybe it's because we're in the moment, but it does feel like this year's worse than the end of 2021. Now, 2021 was a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of backstabbing you had from coaches in that clubhouse and how bad the relationship was between the players and Tingler, and essentially Preller being forced to fire Tingler. I don't think Preller wanted to fire Tingler in the first place, but he had no choice because he can't let a manager be around with this much, toxic energy. That's how I feel about this. You can't allow Preller to remain here. And if that happens, then the blame's on Peter. And Peter's going to, whatever happens next year, the blame will now be shifted. Well, Peter, look what happened. You allowed this to happen. You gave him another opportunity. So unfortunately now it's your fault. And until you make the right call, until you make the decision that has to be made, it's on your shoulders and it's your fault.
All right, Guns N' Roses tickets. Let's give them away on the other side of a break, plus more of your reaction. If you're on the line, stay where you are. We will get your calls on the other side. Give away Guns N' Roses tickets. What do you want to see happen on Monday? Kevin Acey reporting Peter Seidler, his preference is for both Bob Melvin and AJ Preller to return in 2024. Don't call right now, by the way, for those Guns N' Roses tickets. We'll let you know when to call. That's on the other side of a break. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, we're giving away Guns N' Roses tickets in about 6 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Plus, more of your phone calls on the Padres and what happens once the season ends. That's next.
This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, Giants, final game of their 3-game series tonight. Petco Park, 6:45 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres.
This game 3 is at Petco.
I meant in San Francisco. In San Francisco.
What'd you call it earlier?
Breaking news.
Giants baseball park or something?
I don't know. Matt Waldron on the mound versus old friend Sean Manaea. Cubs, they need to lose this game for the Padres to have any chance.
Correct.
Well, they're currently leading the Braves 3-1 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Oh no. Did you know that Taylor Swift's going to be at the Jets game on Sunday? Breaking news. Also, NBA news of the day. Damian Lillard has been traded from the Portland Trailblazers to the Milwaukee Bucks in a 3-team deal along with the Suns. And tonight, Brady Hoke Coaches Show, 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760 with John, Rich, and Coach Hoke. As the Leafs change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, we've got Guns N' Roses tickets. Don't call now. We'll tell you when to call. Be listening to this segment. And in the next handful of minutes, we'll tell you when to call. You'll need something from this segment. And then someone's winning 2 tickets, Guns N' Roses, Snapdragon Stadium, October 1st. Ticket info at Ticketmaster.com. Ticketmaster.com. We'll tell you when to call. Let's go back to the phones. 844-570-1360. Kevin Acey reporting Peter Seidler's preference is to keep both A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin for 2024. What's your preference? 844-570-1360. Sean, you're on with Jon and Jim.
All right, guys. So I'm trying to think about this in a rational way. Why Peter would say something like, "We all know Preller needs to go, man," but maybe because of medical issues, maybe because he's already invested so much into the team, maybe because he doesn't have any money to go out and get players and change up everything. I mean, maybe he's just like, "Hey, be grown men in this room and deal with what we got and try to make this work," because he's out of options.
Sean, appreciate the call.
Well, there's always other options.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't the only option that you would have with Peter Seidler, with AJ Preller and Bob Melvin. Like, there's always other options.
Sure, of course there are.
Unless he like legitimately thinks I can't find anybody better than AJ, which is a real possibility. And also the possibility there too of like what is needed if you fire AJ Preller, the amount of time and effort to go out and interview potential candidates to replace him and, you know, vet them out and make sure you find the right one. Like, if you're not in the right headspace, or if you're dealing with other things that are way more important, like his health, that would be a very hard thing to do, I feel like.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely, but I would think if someone isn't in good health, I would still think that I've said this before, that someone else would be responsible for making sure the organization is best suited moving forward. The last thing, and I haven't spoken to Peter about this, but I would assume the last thing Peter wants to do if his health isn't in the right spot right now is to hurt the organization because of his health, right? The organization's got to the organization has to strive to win at the highest level. They're spending like they should be winning. It's Peter's money. There's no way he'd want to hurt the franchise because he's unable to be a part of day-to-day decisions right now. Right. I would think, right? So somebody's going to have to make these decisions if Peter's unable to do it, right?
Well, the question is, who is going to be potentially making
what did Kevin say?
These decisions.
Kevin said the meeting would be with Melvin, Preller. It would also be with Padres CEO Eric Grubner and at least one member of Seidler Equity Partners. So that would be the meeting dynamic on Monday after the Padres season comes to an end. Your point's valid. Maybe they can't make the decisions that are necessary because of Peter Seidler's health. But again, it's speculation. I wouldn't think Peter would want that. I wouldn't think he'd want to hold back the organization because of his health.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. And Peter hasn't spoken publicly. Doesn't sound like he's going to be speaking publicly anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I said this last night on the wrap-up show, and I may have briefly said it today, maybe not on the show, but if you get to, say, Tuesday next week, whenever they hold the end of the season press conference, because there will be an end of season press conference. If AJ Preller is on that stage, he's returning.
Well, yeah.
There's no chance and no way that he speaks to the media if they're thinking of firing him, even after a meeting of the minds 24 hours after game 162 on Sunday.
Right. Never. That's why, like in most sport, NFL, MLB, like there's a Black Monday. Like decisions are made and that's it. You don't allow those stakeholders to speak with the media and then not be retained. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Bob Melvin will speak to the media Sunday after that game against the White Sox. He'll be asked about the game.
Yeah.
He'll be asked about his future. But from there on, they need to make a determination.
Because there are a lot of questions that need to be answered still. A lot. Now, if they fire AJ Preller, I think that's the biggest question, and it's answered. Like, our actions are speaking louder than our words. And I would understand that. I wouldn't need much more. You know, if they fire AJ Preller, that's all the explanation that I need. All right, they did it. And now you move on.
Well, yeah, they're saying that this isn't good enough.
Yep.
Thanks for your time. But now we need to move forward, and we feel as if your direction is not good enough to lead us where we want to go.
So then the question's like, all right, well, if you fire AJ, what are you doing with Bob? What are you doing with Bob? You know, that's going to have to be a question answered, unless you decide that you're just getting rid of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is getting rid of what would be best served for this franchise heading into 2024 to win now? Get rid of Preller and keep Melvin. Get rid of Melvin, keep Preller. Get rid of both of them.
Keep both of them.
Keep both of them.
Honestly, I've said this a lot. Some people won't like this. I really don't think it matters a ton. For 2024, it absolutely matters for the future. I just don't know if 2024 all of a sudden goes from 75 wins to 95 wins based on a decision, or 80 to 80 or 80 to 90. I don't know. I don't know if it's as simple as that. I really don't.
Well, those are the four. I feel like, remember the Simpsons movie, Brent, when President I don't think he's listening. When President Schwarzenegger is at his desk, and no, he's not. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, in the Simpsons movie, President Schwarzenegger is at his desk, and they're like, "All right, President, you have 4 options. Choose one." And it's like, "I choose that one." And they're like, "No, you can't choose that one." He's like, "Okay, I choose that one." They're like, "Oh, no, sorry, you can't choose that one." And he's like, "Fine, I choose that one." They're like, "No, you can't choose that one. Choose this one." He goes, "Okay, fine, I choose this one." Like, I feel like that could be, and Schwarzenegger would be Peter. Like, "Hey, we have all these options on the table, and we have to talk things out, but I want you to choose this one for whoever I'm putting in charge is to keep both of them." Like, hey, you got to keep both of them, which I'm afraid is going to happen now.
All right, let's sneak in one more call. 844-570-1360. We'll give away those tickets in a moment. Greg, you're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, just real quick. I think the decision's already been made, because if Seidler is saying he wants both of them kept, then that's probably what's going to happen, because Preller's obviously not going to fire himself. And why would Preller go above what the wishes of what Seidler wants? And Seidler wants, Melvin back. I think what really, in reality, what should take place is, if it's not working out next year, then that's when you make a decision, early, August, and say, hey, Preller, it's not working. Thanks for your time. And then that gives you at least another month or two to start working on finding a new general manager, and then whatever, which is harder to do than finding another manager. For a baseball team.
Yeah, you could do it, but it's like, why wait a year? And thank you, Greg. I mean, you could do it in the middle of next year if it's not working out, and get ahead of it for the 2024 offseason. But do you need more evidence that it hasn't worked out? Okay. Caller 7, you are going to see Guns N' Roses, 844-570-1360. This is going to be October 1st, Snapdragon Stadium. Ticketmaster.com for tickets and info. 844-570-1360. Call right now. Caller 7, you're going to see Guns N' Roses, a pair of free tickets, October 1st, just days away at Snapdragon Stadium. Jim's back page. Next. All right, we've got Jim's back page on the other side, plus a winner of those Guns N' Roses tickets. We'll tell you who that is next. Brady Hoke Show coming up at 6 p.m. Aztecs have won 9 of their last 10 against Air Force. They'll be there Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Our pregame coverage will be at AleSmith. An AleSmith watch party, please join us. Saturday afternoon, 3 to 5. Me, you, J.R. Tolver, Aztec football at Air Force. For San Diego State, trying to avoid a 4th consecutive loss and get back to 500 on the year at 3-3.
Yeah, this is a huge game for the Aztecs.
It is. Absolutely.
To make sure that's tackle this weekend.
Jim's got to figure it out.
Ready? Yeah.
Yeah. Tackle.
All right. Score points.
Okay. Score more points than the opposition.
More points, right? Yeah, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't turn the ball over.
It's a triple option. It's easy, right? I mean, how hard is this? Jim's got to figure it out. They either like dive or pitch. I mean, is this that hard?
No, it's fine.
Air Force has attempted 12 passes. They're scoring 35 points per game.
I've always wondered that when a team runs the ball as much as this team and only throws it 12 times, and you still can't stop it, like
it's an amazing offense.
Like how is that possible?
They run it so effectively because it's all they do. It's like, go beat us. Like we do something nobody else does. Go get ready for it in a week.
Well,
we're built to do this.
And that's the thing with the Aztecs is, do they have the bodies up front to push them around a little bit?
Traditionally, yes. We'll see if they can on Saturday. Even last year in an Air Force win, they scored 13 points, had 1 touchdown. Air Force in a 13-3 win over San Diego State. All right, Cubs, by the way, leading in Atlanta 3-1. If the Cubs win, the Padres season is over. Cubs had a 6-0 lead last night. They lead tonight 3-1. They couldn't win last night. Let's get to the back page.
All right, Brent, cover your ears. Or just don't listen.
Oh, no. No.
More?
Taylor Swift is expected to attend this week's Chiefs-Jets game on Sunday Night Football at MetLife Stadium.
Wow.
TMZ and other outlets are reporting. Also, TMZ has released pictures from Sunday night with Taylor Swift sitting on Travis Kelce's lap.
Who cares?
At the bar.
At the bar?
At the bar that was rented out by Travis Kelce.
I was going to say, they weren't just at some random bar. This
No,
is
no.
the rented out bar.
Yes. Rent out the whole bar for
Wow.
the Chiefs and the Chiefs players and wives and girlfriends and everything, family members.
Well, this is escalating very quickly.
This is escalating.
It's escalating
at a rapid pace.
Wow.
Sunday night is going to break a lot of records, John.
Maybe.
It'll break a lot of records.
Look, Taylor's watching Travis Kelce. Tune in.
Well, if she's there, they're going to go to that shot
every
all the time.
2 minutes.
I mean, the Bears-Chiefs game this weekend was, I think, a national game, but it got like a ratings spike
because
the
of Taylor.
second that Taylor was announced there.
Right.
It became like the most watched game, like week 3 game ever. They had a spike of women 18 to 49 of like 40%. It was insane.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, great. I'll tune in.
Sticking with Taylor Swift. And
Oh my
Travis
gosh.
Kelce. But it's not them. It's just what is happening with them. With Heinz ketchup.
Okay.
You know how Taylor was.
Are they offended that she mixed ranch and ketchup because it's gross?
No, they're actually not offended, Brent. They're actually using it to create a marketing opportunity for them by creating a new flavor of ketchup called the seemingly ranch condiment with ketchup and ranch mixed together. Combined.
Seemingly ranch?
Heinz is honoring Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce by creating a new, I guess, flavor, seemingly ranch condiment. Because Taylor Swift was seen at the game taking a picture where she was eating chicken finger with ketchup and ranch. Heinz says 100 bottles of the sauce will be made, an ode to Taylor's favorite number 13 and Travis's number 87 jersey.
Oh, combining
to make
100 bottles? I feel like there's going to be more demand than 100.
Brent, do you want a bottle?
No.
How much is each bottle?
I've never
like $1 million?
seen someone more upset with something in my life than Brent with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Brent's going to be so happy when this ends. And so will I.
Yeah, and it will be.
Yeah. It's never going to end.
And when it does end, Brent, I will let you on the back page do the story because I know you'll be happy about it.
I don't even think we should discuss it. Just act like it's ended already. Can we do that?
What else? Do you have another
alive.
Taylor? You have another Taylor story?
Unfortunately, I don't.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, if you do, I'm hitting the music now.
Yeah.
We're going home early.
Unfortunately, I don't. I'm sorry. I have a McDonald's story.
Okay.
McDonald's is releasing 2 limited time dipping sauces. Excited about this? On October 9th.
As long as it's not combo
Taylor and
ranch
Travis.
ketchup, yes.
It actually is. Just kidding.
Okay.
October 9th, McDonald's will release 2 new sauces, each offering a sweet and spicy promise, but each with its own sweet and spicy flavor. The flavors will be sweet and spicy jam and mambo sauce. All right.
Jam
I'm not
isn't
listening.
like jelly.
It says that the first sauce is a breakfast-inspired sweet and
okay.
spicy jam
Then that makes
sauce,
sense then.
which is a thick red pepper sauce with a tongue-numbing peppercorn kick.
I'd try that. They don't really have a breakfast sauce. So.
The second sauce is called the mambo sauce. It's tomato-based with sweet, spicy, and vinegar notes.
Hey, real quick, tomorrow, we need to get to, I'm not listening.
I
We
know.
need to get to who's a faker fan. Because Taylor claims to be this big Eagles fan.
Oh,
and she's wearing Chiefs stuff left and right. Jim
okay.
claims to be this big Niners fan. He's wearing Eagles stuff left and right. Tomorrow at 3, San Diego Sports 760.
tune in
Forget
for
about this
that.
Preller-Melvin dynamic.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Tune in tomorrow at
She's
3.
a fake fan.
If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app. I mean, we killed Jim over this. How come nobody's killing Taylor over it?
Because she's Taylor Swift and she owns the world.
True. iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social media. Please follow us there at Jon and Jim. JONANDJIM. We're back tomorrow at 3. Are the Padres still alive tomorrow at 3 p.m.? We'll find out tonight. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here. It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Brady Hoke Show is next.
Dude.
You're so annoying.